the entertainment highlight of the week.
Red Ray Gun Limited presents
The Benji and Nick Show. Hello.
Oh, we did it at the same time then.
Hello.
Good
Almost
morning.
the same. Good afternoon.
Good evening.
Good day.
Goodness gracious me.
Good New Year greetings to you.
Good gravy.
Good Friday.
Loch Ness. No,
No.
goodness.
How dare you? Thank you, Loch Ness.
That's all right.
That's the first one I've won in ages.
You earned
Yes.
that one.
I mean, I went off-piste a little bit. Anyway, that was the Loch Ness, the New Year Loch Ness game, the 2020 premiere of the game. As you may have noticed, the rules have been intricately changed, but it is true to say that it's not really about Loch Ness, and it's not really a game.
It's a way of life, it's an existence, it's a stylistic choice in which we take in this podcast to bring you the finest opening every week. Well, if you're tuned in, this is the Benji and Nick Show. I am not Nick.
And I'm not Benji.
And what we do is we talk about cult television, TV from the past, TV you might remember, TV you might want to forget, and some TV that you've just thought, oh, blimey, why are they going on about that still? That's us. It's the Benji and Nick Show. And what are we doing this week, Nick?
Well, let me just first tell you that the Benji and Nick Show is proud to be sponsored by The Village Shop, the online e-store run by the Unmutual website and Coit Media Limited. It's your one-stop shop for all things Prisoner, Danger Man, and Patrick McGowan.
That's brilliant, isn't it?
I know.
Oh, lovely.
Including DVDs, Blu-rays, books, CDs, audio dramas, clothing. That sounds very formal, doesn't it? Clothing, the clothing department. Photos, homeware. Have you got these new plates? And gifts. Yeah. New items are added weekly. I hope they're added strongly as well.
I would like to have a Prisoner three-piece suite, a Prisoner tea chest, and a Danger Man vase.
Lovely. None of which are actually available. Benji and Nick Show listeners can enjoy a 10% discount on all purchases by using the code, all in capital letters, all one words, Loch Ness 10, LOCHNESS 10 at the checkout. A further donation will also be made to Hope House Children's Hospice at no cost to you. The address of the site is www.theprisonershop.co.uk. Theprisonershop.co.uk. Let's have a look and recommend something from here. Benji, do you want to click the link, the other link?
I'm already there and having a look. I'll tell you
What
something,
have you got?
there is some surprisingly decent and obscure things in here which I quite like. You can get yourself a pack of 2 penny farthing hand towels, which I rather like. Or if you really like your penny farthings, just go mad and have a penny farthing wall or garden ornament, if that's real Prisoner through and through. Of course, there's millions and billions of DVDs and books and all sorts that you can find on here. In My Mind, the film, really highly acclaimed film, Patrick McGowan.
All about the prisoner.
All about the prisoner, and
interview with him. Yeah.
Which is released by Network, I believe. Oh, look at that! You can get the telephone kiosk replica model kits. That's so cool.
Yeah, you can get the living space replica model kit there. Yeah.
I mean, that is amazing. It's the type of thing. This is what I love. This is the one thing I can honestly say I adore about kind of the community of retro television, is the ability to all these things which you just never thought would ever exist come into being. It's absolutely brilliant.
It's incredible, isn't it? And of course, the Big Finish, 3 volumes of the Prisoner audio drama reimagining by me is available there, along with our first volume of Callan, starring Ben Mars as Callan and Frank Skinner as Lonely. Yeah,
it's well worth an investment, that one, isn't it?
Yeah. So if you want to, if you want to get your Big Finish stuff through this rather than the Big Finish website, then please feel free. It's great stuff, isn't it? So don't forget a 10% discount.
I mean, and the prices, I have to say, are very, very attractive. So with your 10% discount, you really are going to be laughing all the way to the post office to pick it up unless, if you miss the postman, which does happen quite a lot these days.
Yeah, you just got to aim a bit better. Coming up, sorry about that, we'll be giving you our unique special commentary on Doctor Who, Pyramids of Mars, Part 4, a slice of vintage 1975 Doctor Who starring Tom Baker as the Doctor and Elizabeth Sladen as his faithful companion Sarah Jane Smith. We'll also try to talk to Jamie, son of Jerry Anderson, a human in his own right that we keep identifying in that rather patronising way. He's a great mate of ours and a jolly nice fellow to boot. Have you ever booted him?
Many a times, yes. I often let him choose the shoes that I'm wearing as a little treat.
What are you drinking?
A cup of tea in a mug that says "Dream Big" in patronising gold letters.
Oh, dream big. That's nice. Jamie's just asked me if my internet problems are sorted out. I say yes.
Yes, sort of.
So, coming to you. I say coming to you after emails. Probably aren't. Yeah, but should we? I don't know. Oh, and pyramids of Pyramids
of Venus.
Part 4. Still okay? This makes for fascinating podcasting, just the sound of me texting Jamie Anderson. Right. Shall I read this first email, which, funnily enough, is from Rick Davey, who runs the Unmutual, the village shop,
Well, he's a good egg, that man.
He sent this on the 29th of December 2019, that long-forgotten year that we really want to forget about. He says, "Dearest gents, hope you're both well. Apologies for not having written in for so long." It's all right. Do we lie? But found myself behind by a few episodes, so have just listened to a few eps and naturally found myself gagging to write into you both. God, imagine binge listening to us. He's got to be dedicated, hasn't he?
Just started hearing voices, just people saying, Loch Ness, Loch Ness, Loch Ness, Loch Ness, Loch Ness, Loch Ness.
Now, Rick is always very helpful. He says, "Firstly, I want to help young Nick out about something. He seems to think he must have seen the Des O'Connor Stingray sketch at a later juncture than its original showing. I think so too. It was included in the 1993 ATV night on BBC Two, an evening-long celebration of low-grade ATC and ITC shows. Could this have been where you saw it?" Absolutely not. I'm pretty certain I did see it in 1993, but I remember thinking to myself, "Oh my God, it's that thing I saw when I was a kid." So there.
Memories.
Yeah. Secondly, and perhaps most controversially, here we go. I want to disagree about the BBC drama Collateral, which Nick has championed. I found it to be the most lazy written drama I have seen in some time. You're dead wrong, Rick, dead wrong. Even the superb cast of actors, who are blameless, as one wonders how dreadful it would have been had the likes of Carey Mulligan, John Sim, John Heffernan and Billy Piper not lifted it out of its mire, couldn't save it, as we saw a procession of obvious stereotypes, all of whom were thoroughly miserable and unlikable, pass us by, none of whom we believed in or cared in the slightest bit about, with the exception perhaps of Mulligan. We, that's my wife and I, thought it was just us, but many of our friends on social media were struggling with it too. It started off as quite an intriguing drama, but just became plodding and predictable and didn't actually tackle any of the underlying themes. It's as if the writer was given a brief of tackling a subject, but got so lost trying to give the characters a backstory that they didn't actually need that he forgot to tackle it. I've since read that the writer didn't do any research before he wrote it. It shows mediocre at best. I would recommend Informer if you want a gritty modern drama. That is brilliant as well, Informer. But I think you're totally wrong about Collateral. I mean, David Hare is one of our foremost writers, and it's just a superb thing. I think you've misunderstood what kind of drama it's meant to be. There's more to it than it's not actually a thriller. It's about the fallout from a traditional thriller plot and what might really happen. So I think I think there's a misunderstanding there. But, horses for courses, if you don't like it, fair enough. Just fair enough. I mean, Rick and I'd never see eye to eye on these bloody things anyway. Lastly, how wonderful to hear mention of The Man Who Haunted Himself, my favourite Roger Moore performance. And indeed, it was his favourite too, as you mentioned. The great thing about Sir Roger is that he knew he wasn't a great actor. It's a very good point. His greatest roles, The Saint, James Bond, The Persuaders, Ivanhoe, were based on the fact that he was good-looking, charming and incredibly lovable, which is, it seems, how he was in real life. So he was in effect playing himself the whole time. He didn't need to be a great actor, he just needed to be likeable. I think he managed it! ! It's a really good point, isn't it, Benji, about sort of charisma. But I think that what do you think of Roger Moore, firstly?
I love Roger Moore. I always have done. I love him as James Bond. I love him in The Saint. I've always had a lot of time for Roger Moore, and I agree. He's not the greatest actor of all time, but what I would say is that he has a reputation for being a thoroughly lovely man, and
well, that's what Rick's saying.
Exactly, and so he did a lot of charity work as well, didn't he?
He did, yes. He was a
death.
UNICEF ambassador, yeah.
So I think somebody like him who could really make the most of his, dare I say, power. In his influence, power to him. I've got a lot of time for Roger Moore, and I will never forget. He was the first James Bond I ever saw when I was a little boy. When I remember I came downstairs one night and The Spy Who Loved Me was on the telly, but it was the ending, the great ending with the in the submarine in the silo, or the hangar or whatever they call it. And I remember coming downstairs
inside Stromberg's lair.
Yes, absolutely. And I came downstairs and I couldn't sleep, and it was on the telly, and so I sat with my dad and watched that film. And I remember coming in the next day, and none of my friends had seen it, and being like, there's this thing called James Bond and it's amazing, and there's loads of explosions and guns, and it changed my life. I remember then I used to go to the library and hire out all of the James Bond videos and watch them all.
Wow.
And not a lot has changed, to be honest. But yeah, Roger Moore, icon. Very sad he's no longer with us.
Just a bit of free fall nonsense here from me. I mentioned Stromberg's lair, and I was told the other day by my 10-year-old son that the word lair actually just means home, and it's nothing sinister about it at all. And yet, because it got used in a sinister context once and has a sort of sinister sound to it,
it's got a good sound. Lair.
So you could just say to someone, do you want to come back to my lair? And people are like, what? No, I just mean my home. The other thing, that set that you were referring to was visited by the then Prime Minister, Harold Wilson.
Was it really?
Yeah, when they were filming there. And I remember footage of it on the news, and he went to see it with all the submarines there.
Was it called Atlantis, wasn't it called, or something? Strongbirds, Atlantis, the big spider set.
Yes, I don't know now, but it was the set where all the... actually, it was the set which was the interior of the container ship, which opened up at the front, like the spaceship opened up in You Only Live Twice. It was the same trick again. And the submarines went in. And that was the set, so it wasn't actually Stromberg's lair. And also, Harold Wilson features rather beautifully in The Crown, the latest series, which I've now seen all of. Played by Jason... Gonna have to look this up now, aren't I? Do you know who it is?
Don't be silly.
Harold Wilson in The Crown. I feel stupid doing this because the actor in Jason Watkins, the actor concerned, Jason Watkins, has been in Big Finish as well and is a lovely, lovely man. I didn't actually work with him myself. Everyone else told me he was lovely. I think he played the White Guardian, funnily enough.
In his fun little chair.
But his wicker chair.
My auntie's got one in her bathroom. So whenever I go in there, I always have this moment where I think to myself, shall I sit in the chair and pretend to be the white guy? No. No, I won't.
I'd be Cyril Luckham or Jason Watkins. And it's interesting what Rick is saying there about not a good actor, but and I've always subscribed to that theory about Sir Roger. But the funny thing is, that ability to do one thing really well and to portray what is essentially or a version of your personality that works on screen as a character, that's no mean feat, and many actors can't do it. And it's not for nothing, I think, that John Pertwee talked about that a lot every time he was asked about playing the Doctor. Because up until then, he had always played wacky, face-stretching characters, hadn't he, John Pertwee?
Yeah.
Up until he played Doctor Who. And then he found an ability to project what was essentially his own personality, a much less harsh version, I would say, perhaps controversially. But you know what I mean? Just rewatching some of his stuff on BritBox, you just think, wow, there's a really grounded, realistic performance here from John Pertwee. It's really quite exquisite to watch.
I would argue the most realistic performance in Doctor Who, actually, in terms of taking it seriously. You know, up there with, I think, maybe William Hartnell as well, because, you know, but having that realistic, non-clownish sort of approach kind of works. But I mean, Roger Moore, he did the opposite in the case that he made James Bond a more family-friendly, less serious, fun sort of character. You know, the family James Bond.
I mustn't forget that Rick ends his email by saying, and don't forget, folks, the Benji and Nick Show, the podcast of champions.
You're damn right there.
You have to do another episode of the Champions or something.
Well, why not? I mean, that's no hard task, is it? Thanks, Rick, for emailing. Always a pleasure to hear from you, dear fellow. We got one here from Alan Jope, sent on the 24th of the 11th, 2019.
Also an old one, this. Slipped through the net.
Slipped through the net. Sent in 1456. It was a long time ago. Says here, Dear Nick and Benji, I would love for you to cover the Avengers episode Man-Eater of Surrey Green and the Doctor Who The Seeds of Doom.
Yeah.
The two stories are very similar and would prove an interesting discussion. Listening from a quiet corner, Alan Jobe from Belmont, New Hampshire, USA.
Sent from his cellular registered trademark smartphone.
Stuff like that is always fun, isn't it? Well, food for thought there.
Have you ever seen The Man-Eater of Surrey Green? I have spoken about it in the past when we've talked generally.
I don't believe
about
I have. I really don't believe I have.
And along with The Seeds of Doom, that might be interesting. Oh, I've seen The Seeds of Doom. Doctor Who so many times.
But it's always... I've not seen it loads of times, but I've seen it enough to be like, yes, I've seen it plenty.
Right, okay, here we go. Firefly and Danger, Will Robinson from Adam Graham. This was sent on the... this was sent back in November as well. Must have missed that one too. 0637. That's... Captain's log star date 0637, of course. Dear Nick and Benji, first of all, I have a big wedding anniversary coming in a few years. Is there any way I could hire Briggs and Clifford musical mouths band? I don't know why I'm doing that guy.
Maybe down the sort of...
I was doing a tuba there. I'm going to second a listener's nomination of Firefly for a future episode. Now, I was with Benji in the I've never watched this thing camp until 2015 when the series appealed to me because there did seem to be so many passionate fans and only 14 episodes in existence. The small number of episodes made it immediately accessible as it wouldn't take long to enjoy the whole canon. That's a good point, isn't it? The characters are beautifully written with a fantastic cast. I generally go for the morally ambiguous characters, but the series really surprised me and won me over. It was cut down unjustly before it even got started, thanks to a handling of the series that made the BBC's approach to late 1980s Doctor Who look downright supportive. Serenity was a really good and heartbreaking follow-up. I saw the movie, and funnily enough, you can watch the movie without knowing the series. Have you seen Serenity?
That's always nice. No, I've not. I know nothing of this franchise.
Try Serenity. I've never watched Firefly either. That still left so much ground that could be explored but never was. It's so tantalising a series. I'll disagree with doing the original Lost in Space, at least based on what I know and remember. There are programs when I remember them being great and find out they weren't so hot on rewatch. However, when I remember Lost in Space, there was nothing. Space, yes. Well, quite. There was nothing really good about the plots, the acting, or the situation. It's so true. Yeah, but I watched it when I was like 5. If Dr. Smith had shown up on the 1966 Batman TV series, he would have been advised by the Riddler to tone it down. And sadly, I think there were Gilligan's Island villains more intimidating than what I remember from Lost in Space. Yeah, being British, I've never seen Gilligan's Island. Have you ever seen it?
No, but it's a bit of a running gag with me and my friends that we always say we're going to sit down and watch Gilligan's Island. And when we go to Germany, they always ask us what's the big shows in the UK at the moment. They said, are people still watching Downton Abbey? And we always say, oh no, to be honest, everybody's just obsessed with Gilligan's Island. And they're just like, really? Like, yeah, we love it over there. We can't get enough of it.
What a total wind-up.
It's just like I always, whenever I go away, I always tell them that in our country with Brexit, that everybody wears bowler hats as a symbol of support for Brexit. And so they just believe that there's loads of people walking around like those bank managers from the 1960s. Oh, lies.
Or the Christine Keeler drama that's on at the moment, the Profumo scandal from the 1960s. Ben Miles plays Profumo, the War Minister who, had an affair with a model. Yeah. And Ben Miles wears a bowler hat in it when he goes into work at the Houses of Commons in 1962 or 1 or something, I don't know. And funnily enough, Ben Miles is a very attractive man and a super bloke, having worked with him on Callan for Big Finish. But he does not suit a bowler hat.
Oh dear.
Isn't it weird? The bowler hat looks too small for him. It looks totally weird, and I noticed that he takes it off at the earliest opportunity. I imagine Ben saying, I don't like it. It doesn't look good. He's such a good-looking bloke. Anyway.
But some people just don't fit hats. It's like Tommy Cooper was another. He looked downright ridiculous in hats and made it part of his act.
Yes. Adam goes on, what was great about Lost in Space was the friendship between Will Robinson and the sassy robot. Absolutely. Even though Will Robinson was stranded in space with the biggest Camp Ham character of all time, when I was a boy, I'd have gladly traded places with him just to have the robot friend. That's the appeal of the show as far as I can see, and not something we can really fully appreciate as adults. You're totally right. I felt exactly the same. And just to think about Will Robinson and the robot in the old series brings tears of nostalgia to my eyes. Totally illogical and ridiculous. For me, Lost in Space helped fuel my curiosity and love of strange worlds. Without it, I may not have gotten interested in far better programs. So my opinion is that it's just best to let it rest in peace. I think reviews are more interesting when there's an unpredictability factor. What are Benji and Nick going to think of this? In this case, it's so doubtful you'll find much redeeming about the series, so that takes out the suspense factor. Oh, I see what you're saying. We're bound to say it's rubbish. Yeah. At any rate, keep up the good work. Sent from a cowboy pirate ship in space in capital letters. So there you go.
Good email. All of them are good.
Yeah. Yes, we'll mark them 10 out of 10. All of those. It's interesting. He's not talking about the remake and the remake. Have you watched it yet?
I've not. There's so many things I need to get round to. Time.
I nearly said that I bonded with my son over it. We're already bonded, of course, because we get on beautifully well. But we sat and I got him to catch up with Series 1, and then we sat and watched Series 2 almost, not in one sitting, but several episodes at a time. And Ben's just the right age, but even though it's quite an adult story, Will Robinson is 11 and Ben's 10, so. It's kind of, and they got the same haircut, frankly. But it's lovely, and they really do. The people who make that new series, Adam, they agree with you, and they have made it all about that relationship, whilst broadening it out to other things. But it always comes back to the relationship between the robot and the boy, and they've done it so exquisitely. I think that's possibly controversial. Write in and tell me I'm a fool, Rick Davey and other people.
Don't laugh at me, 'cause I'm a fool.
Thank you, Norman Wisdom.
I suppose we'll take some wisdom now from our great choice of of science fiction.
Well, I'm just worried about keeping Jamie ready. So just ask him
give
if he
him-
can.
give him a bell,
Well, I'll
give
ask
him-
him. Yeah, hold on.
Give him a dingly dell.
Hello.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Now, we could talk to you now, or we could go and watch Pyramids of Mars and get back to you. Would you like us to talk to you now?
Is that acceptable?
Yes, it
Yeah.
is.
Then let's
Acceptable.
do that.
Yeah, now I've forgotten what it was I wanted to talk to you about. Benji, do you want to talk to him about anything?
Yeah, what dumb accomplishments are you most proud of?
Easy.
Oh.
I completed Harry Ramsden's challenge when I was 12 years old, and that is basically an 18-inch long piece of cod, 2 portions of chips, 4 rounds of buttered bread,
Yeah.
pot of tea, and an enormous bowl of mushy peas, and I got a certificate for it.
Is that all you got as a certificate?
Well, and the meal, obviously, yeah. But I was with Dad at Knutsford Services, and he watched the whole thing.
And heart problems for the next 40 years.
Yes, they can carve the Harry's Challenge winner into my tombstone.
It's more like the obesity challenge, isn't it, really? That's what they should have called it.
I think that would have been a bit less on brand, though.
Yeah,
So,
that's a good point. Yeah, yeah. Did you have a good Christmas and all that?
yes, thank you. I ate my body weight in nuts and cheese. And you?
I hope you didn't eat the body weight of me. It's all right. Yeah, it's just fairly low key. Yeah.
And Benji?
Benji?
Yeah, it was decent, pretty decent. I'm tired now, but got a lot done. A lot of eating.
Good. Aren't we all wonderful?
Yeah. I just got this nagging feeling there was something really interesting I wanted to talk to you about. I just can't think what it is.
Was it about what novelty salt and pepper dispensers we all own?
Clearly you've got some. What's that? 2 doggies.
They're Dachshunds.
Ah. Have you got anything like that, Benji?
No, not really. I mean, I've got some dogs. I've got a dog.
Oh, and he's now showing me what is that? A
I think it's supposed
partridge?
to be a duck, but it looks like a pigeon.
Yeah, it does. How have you got these strange things?
People buy them for us because they think that we like them.
What you need is a Steph, because what she would do is keep them for about 3 days and then put them and take them to a charity shop. That's what she'd do.
It's a good idea.
I see that with
Good
sort
idea.
of bad presents and things. She just goes, yeah, well, obviously we don't want it. You don't want it, do you? I go, no, but, no. I mean, no, it's going.
Keep it long enough and then
I'll
ditch it.
pack them up and send them to Steph.
She can be the aggregator. No, that's not the right word, is it?
The tap dispenser.
Yeah. You see any good telly? Anything you particularly like to talk about? Let's put it that way.
Well, I tried to watch The Witcher, which I know Benji really loves, but nah.
Benji's just hanging himself now.
Yeah, I'm
Sorry,
dead now.
Benji. I just couldn't get into it.
What's your reaction to that, Benji?
You know what? It's one of those things. If you love the characters, you love the series. I think if you don't know the characters, you're not gonna get on with it as easily.
Fair enough. Makes total sense. And I also watched a thing which has got a naughty word in it. Don't F with cats.
Oh, my sister watched that and she couldn't sleep afterwards.
Yeah, it's quite disturbing, but very well done. Really interesting way of doing documentary. So that's on Netflix.
Wow, what? Can you give me a flavour, Jamie, of what it's about?
It's 2 people who met online in the pursuit of a man who had filmed himself killing small animals, basically.
Oh,
And they tried to track him down, and eventually they realised his behaviour was that of a serial killer. And it was only a matter of time before he killed, and they tried to get the police to stop him, and it was too late. He actually did. And so it's the story from their perspective, which is a fascinating way to tell it.
Even though they're dead.
No, the people who tried to track him down, not the person who was killed.
Oh, right. Sorry, I misunderstood what you were saying.
So
It's a documentary from the point of view of a dead person.
No, from the point of view of two people who tracked him down and met online doing so. Fascinating.
Wow, that's pretty horrible. Well, thank you for bringing us down. We're going to go and watch Pyramids of Mars now.
I might do the same.
Oh, episode 4.
Well, I'll probably start with episode 1. But,
Well, we've done the other 3 over the last few months.
Yes, well, I haven't, so I shall start at 1, and I'll meet you at 4. Good
Okay,
luck.
catch up. All right, mate. Well, lovely to talk to you, and carry on.
Happy 2020
Oh, yeah.
Happy
to
2020.
you and all of your lovely listeners.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.
Well, there we go.
Right.
Onwards.
Now, of course, what we have to do, we're going to watch Pyramids of Mars Part 4 on BritBox.
Which we can do. It'll be fine. It'll be fine.
It'll be an interesting challenge.
I think it'll be absolutely fine.
Well, I tell you why it's an interesting challenge, because I don't think you can select individual episodes, can you?
Yes, you can on the browser. You most certainly can.
Well, I've selected Pyramids of Mars, and it's gone straight to episode 1.
So now click the back button on the
Right.
on the thing, and
This will be educational for our listeners, yeah.
And you should have a list now. It should have all of the series on a horizontal line.
Yeah.
And then you can scroll down, and you can see the individual episodes.
Nope.
Really? I can see Terror of the Zygons 1, 2, 3, 4.
Nope.
Okay, do this for me then, Nick. In the browser, okay, what I want you to do is, it says britbox.co.uk, right?
Mm-hmm.
/series.
Oh, no, it says / Doctor Who 4th.
Okay, well, do this for me. Type in britbox.co.uk /series / it's not long, don't worry, S13
Yeah.
_ 45476.
That's all, is it?
Yep.
I wonder if that's going to work. Now it's just showing me... Ah, right. That's interesting. So how on earth do you get to that view?
Well, I did it by when I clicked on Pyramids of Mars, and it came up. I then clicked the arrow in the corner when you click on the screen. So like I just clicked on Terror of the Zygons. So when it goes on, it says Doctor Who Classic, and there's like an arrow pointing to the left next to it. I click the arrow, and then it scroll down, and you can see all the episodes.
Wow, that's interesting. I've never seen that view. Okay, so if we do 3, 2, 1 and then press play on the Pyramids of Mars Part 4 icon, let's see what happens, shall we?
Okay. What, on the icon as opposed to click it up, get ready, and then...
Well, but when you press the icon, it does the BritBox logo, doesn't it? And then and then it goes straight into the episode.
So let's do that then. Okay.
3, 2, 1, click. BritBox, bing.
Mine hasn't BritBox. It's gone straight to it because I'd already opened it by this point.
Okay.
So, I mean, I'm only going to be...
Let's go back to the beginning. Just push it back to the beginning, and then we'll do 3, 2, 1, play. Okay, 3, 2, 1, play.
Yep, we're going.
Here we go.
The final episode in our Pyramids of Mars hunt. I don't know what we're hunting for. Pyramids, I presume. Tom Baker's wonderful head of hair there, looking rather like a wig. It's not, but it looks like it in that picture, I always think.
I beg to differ.
What, that it doesn't look like a wig?
It doesn't look like a wig.
Well, it's not a wig,
but
I'm saying it's not a wig, but in that particular photo, it looks like it could be a wig.
I don't agree with you. I think
there
it
we
looks
go.
fantastic. Oh, yes, that's right. That's when Sutek got off the toilet
left
for
the
a
gas
moment.
on. The house exploded. There's flames which are far too big to be actual flames.
I know. Well, of that scale. Squish. Ah!
And now Tom's been sellotaped to a wall by a man with glowing eyes.
This commentary will just feature me making all the noises of the episode. Now,
Stick.
you will not die yet. Now, they edited that little bit for the documentary Who's Doctor Who. Did you know that? And
What did they change it to?
Well, they edited him. He says, "No, Doctor, you will not die yet," or "No, you will not die yet, Doctor." They edited in a doctor.
Why? Oh, I suppose
To make it but right at the end to sort of show that the Doctor would carry on.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
I thought that was quite a fun.
That's
thing.
quite a weird little thing to do, isn't it?
Yeah. Have you ever seen Who's Doctor Who?
Years and years ago, a long time ago.
With Melvin Bragg presenting a programme through his adenoids. Yes.
Can you watch it anywhere? Is it on a special feature or anything?
I think it must be on a special feature. I remember it was just like, the awful thing about watching Who's Doctor Who is that you realise that while you were watching it, they were busy erasing the stories that they were showing us clips from. Absolutely
That's shocking,
horrific.
isn't it? It's absolutely shocking.
Oof,
Do you think there's
makes
any
me feel
missing Doctor
sick.
Who still out there, Nick?
I can't predict the future. I'm rubbish at predicting the future, but I just hope so with all my heart.
That's a very good answer, I think, there.
Oh, now what's this interesting digital display?
It's a calculator. He's just got it hidden under a screen. So,
Oh.
2 plus 2 equals 4.
Equals Time Lord. These
What
strange
is-
symbols show me you are a Time Lord.
What is it with villains? And they always have to have dark layers.
Oh, yeah.
Everything is always dark. And
Back to the
and-
lair thing, isn't it?
Yeah, I just don't see the point. Why can't they have a nice couple of lights fitted?
Well, it's just a kitchen. Welcome to my lair, Doctor. And it's just a kitchen with some Formica surfaces.
So, yes, cup of tea. Would you like some? The toaster's up and running.
I've never heard that phrase about toast being up and running. I've suddenly got an image in my head of toast with little spindly legs running around the kitchen. You're trying to catch it with a net, And in the other
Get
hand,
Get here.
nice beam effect there. That made me very excited back in the day. Someone chasing it around with a knife with butter on it. The toast is up and running.
The hunt has begun
That
for the buttered toast.
You see so many of these episodes freeze things that were frozen frames that were used as bases for artwork in annuals and things. Is this where we see... Oh, it's later, isn't it, where we see the hand on Sutek's chair.
It's a lovely suit he's wearing there. Well tailored, I fear.
Oh, very nice. You fear? Why do you fear? Well,
I meant to say I feel, but I
do you
just
have a
said I
phobia
fear.
about... Oh, that picture's been used as well.
A dozen times,
yeah.
hasn't it?
Oh,
Look at
Neck
Liz
chop
there
her
doing
to
a
death.
fantastic bit of acting,
it is
looking
brilliant.
like she's actually passed out.
It is an incredible thing to do that. Oh, flippity bomb. Look at that fantastic stage fall there.
Flopped down. What a
She
professional.
was, it sounds like I'm taking the mickey, but I'm not. But doing stuff like that convincingly is a real skill. And you get taught to do it at drama school. Again, another frame used in a Doctor Who annual, 1977, I believe.
Many a time, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is. I had to be dead on stage for half an hour at the beginning of The Unexpected Guest, the Agatha Christie thing. It was my week off, and they said, "Can you just come and be the body? We're paying you." I went, "Oh, God, all right." And I had to wait there while Chris Marshall, famed once prospect of being
Chris
Doctor
Marshall,
Who.
Doctor Who, yeah.
Yeah. While he prated around doing a monologue, which got longer and longer every night.
And you're there like, I really want to itch my nose.
Oh, have you ever tried sitting still? I notice you're swinging around on your chair now.
I mean, I can if I want to, but I don't particularly like it.
No, it's horrific. Just
suddenly
try sitting
realised that the
absolutely
human-
still for half an hour. And then, on the third night, realise that he's extended it to 45 minutes with all his prating around.
Oh, gosh. Did you
Anyway.
consider going to sleep?
I did, but David Tennant later told me a story about someone, a friend of his, who'd had to look like he was asleep on stage. I must have told this story before.
Look at that
Nice
string
key.
there. Sorry,
Yeah.
just
I can't see the string, but you can see where it's pulling, can't you? The key there. And this guy fell asleep actually did fall asleep on stage. which he thought he'd try it because he had to be asleep for so long. But unfortunately, when he woke up, he was screaming. he just woke up screaming in the middle of a play.
Oh no!
Looked around to see what was going on. I thought, oh my God.
That must have been it, or he must have been lynched for that.
I mean, that's incredible. You just can't see the string, can you? You can just
Very
see where
good
it's
job.
meant to be. It's all a question of focus.
Which is hard if you're somebody like me.
I think Tom Baker's performance deserves commenting on here.
I have to say, he excels himself when he does one-to-one with the villains.
He's still like that now. He loves a strong villain to face off with. God, he looks so exhausted, doesn't he? And then realises. And of course, this is he's been taken over, hasn't he? Yes. And that was brilliant. The way
The hands.
the personality just drained out of him there. Beautiful work.
And he becomes a loyal servant.
Yes, and of course that whole business about the controls being isomorphic was just introduced by Robert Holmes into this script because it was convenient, and then Doctor Who got saddled with it for years afterwards.
Classic. But that's Doctor Who, isn't it? One throwaway line, and Doctor Who fans will latch onto that and never let it go.
Especially if it's in a classic story that everyone loves. I know that Stephen Moffat dealt with it in the Christmas Carol episode. Did you see that?
I can't remember what he said in it. But
He basically said it was a fib.
Well, yeah, it's like. But then Stephen Moffat introduced the TARDIS brakes, making that noise because he left the brakes on.
Yes, that's right.
You know,
and the
and I
TARDIS
noticed
isn't
that got
meant to
swept-
make that noise.
That got swept under the carpet very quickly.
But I think the fact that saying the Doctor's fibbed about something is quite a good explanation. It's like the whole business about how old he is.
Lying about his age, yeah.
My
and just
thing
sort of
is that
say,
he
"Oh,
always
wow."
lies about it. I mean, how on earth can he calculate his age? Or why on earth would he calculate his age in multiples of 365 Earth days? It's ridiculous.
Quite. You wouldn't bother, would you? I suppose that's one of the things about space, isn't it? It must be incredibly hard relocating if you're a human being
Yeah.
to another culture. I've never really sat down to consider that.
Yeah, it'd be a real shock, wouldn't it?
Look at that, Tom's there going in the TARDIS, which
Oh,
we,
is the mummy going to get past? It's a bit of a queue getting into the TARDIS there.
come on,
The
move.
loo's full again.
Green screen roundels up the top.
Oh, yes.
Interestingly, blue screen rather.
Yeah.
I love this set. I just love
beautiful,
this
isn't it?
set. You can see the stage sheets / curtains as well to the right
Can you?
of the door. Yes.
Can you really?
Can you really?
I remember that he's sort of horrified that the Doctor's not the Doctor anymore, and Liz really communicates that in that look. Terrible set here. Look, you could just see all the joins in
The
it.
joins, yeah.
It's episode 4. There's no money left. Let's just paint a few rocks on
I mean,
wall.
you would have at least pulled in a bit, angled the camera so you don't see that joint, or like this, that angle was
better.
fine. It's fine. And I think that was great.
I just thought I heard Sutek say dickhead then, but I'm pretty certain I misheard that. Get the dickheads out here.
You rude villain. You rude, naughty villain.
It would be good to have a sweary villain. You'll be able to get through where there's a crack in the wall. No, that's just a bad set. I mean, directors working on this must, have cried a bit inside. It was Paddy Russell who did this, wasn't it?
That's the curse of Doctor Who, isn't it? Really, you do have to deal with dramatic budgets.
The awful strangling. They'd never be able to do this on TV now. It's just horrible to see the Doctor apparently strangled. They're not allowed to do imitatable violence.
But what is imitatable violence? Because
strangling, stabbing, shooting,
strangling and stabbing
with
and
a
shooting,
pistol, a bullet gun.
So you can shoot with a laser, but you
Yep.
can't shoot with a pistol gun.
That's right. We once had an instance in a Big Finish story where this character was going around murdering people, and it was beautifully sound designed by Steve Foxon, and yet he'd done the gun firing and the shells cases hitting the ground, and it was horrific. Lovely. Diffusing. That's Doctor Who in essence. Intense drama subverted by a bit of lovely silliness. We just added a zap noise in instead, and it completely transformed the story into something far less disturbing.
How funny. It's just because when I think, like, I was watching, Genesis of the Daleks the other day, and of course you've got all the bullet gun action in that, and it is brutal, isn't it?
Yes. Well, they snuck it past. No one was looking quite so seriously at that kind of thing in those days.
Apart from old Mary, their glasses on.
Well, they ignored her until she made so much noise. They sort of... Doctor Who got crippled by her criticism, really. I mean, I don't have that reconstructed view about the Graham Williams era. I think that it was largely robbed of its power by the imperative to make it less frightening.
And I think, I remember I did an interview with somebody, and they were asking me about Doctor Who, and kind of what I like about Doctor Who. And I realised when I was answering various questions that I was really gunning for it to be scary and the darker aspects of Doctor Who, and I was shocked myself by realising that that's something that I really like about it. The peril aspect. As opposed to happy, clappy Doctor Who that's all nice and whimsical.
Well, I think it is. I mean, I've always said this. It's interesting. This commentary is really matters arising as opposed to what's actually happening on screen. I do love that lighting effect there.
But it's topical. There's only so many times you can say, "Oh, that's a nice polystyrene rock." And
it is very there's not a lot of change going on in this episode. I love Tom's reaction there because, oh god, it's too obvious, it's going to kill me.
But again though, testament. Carry on.
I just wanted to go back to the thing I was going to say about it. Doctor Who is a rehearsal of fear in a safe environment for kids, I mean, Ben, bizarrely, I was watching The Unquiet Dead the other day.
Oh, great story.
Yeah, great. And Ben said, "Oh, can I watch that with you?" I said, "Yeah, okay." And then we ended up watching all of the rest of the Christopher Eccleston series. He absolutely... But we didn't do it all in one go, but more in 2 or 3 goes. And he absolutely loved it. And he... The Empty Child was the one that really got him. And he was terrified by it, and he kept asking me to... Steph and I, by then, were both there, and he was asking us both to hold on to both ends of him. And he was saying, hold my feet, hold my shoulders. And it's interesting that what it does is it gives a connection to parents, it gives a shared experience of an intense emotion. And I think it's just so vital in a human being's development to experience that kind of thing in a safe environment.
And you're practicing fear as well.
Yes.
With the full knowledge that the main character is going to protect you and look after you, and it is a non-violent, clever, smart, emotional hero with a conscience. And I think that's a great attitude to peril, isn't it? Is Definitely. To be calm, think about it logically, don't be driven by anger and fear, but by emotion and thought and conscience.
Yeah,
that's what makes it so brilliant, isn't it, really? I think, you hit the nail on the head there about contact for children. I love that bit.
Why does that mummy turn around then? Oh, I thought I heard someone. No, I didn't, even though I actually turned around in time to see them. You'd think that we would love all this because it's basically Death to the Daleks, isn't it? It's the getting into the city.
Getting into the city with all the... Look, those things in the background are very good, aren't they? I wonder how they were made.
Well, that's just CSO.
A CSO with a camera.
I see what you mean, the actual effect. Yes, this becomes just like the silly sort of things that were in Doctor Who annuals, to fill up the pages, But
I have to say, this is a very padded out 4th episode, sadly. You could have done a lot more with what was going on.
I bet that was Tom using the scarf, you know what I mean? I bet that was his idea. I can't imagine that was in the script. He's measuring it in terms of little bits of colour on his scarf. Sure,
Tom
and the
really
laugh
comes into
afterwards,
his
the
own
little
here.
smile afterwards that shows that she loves him really, rather than just, I wonder whether that was put in case I'm wrong. I love the way he closes his eyes like that's going to help.
But he keeps at the time though. He keeps an absolute noble pose of like, well, I'm sure it'll be okay.
I'm sure so much of this was worked out in the rehearsal studio and wasn't in the script. But yes, terrible effect. This story has its reputation from the fact that it's set in an old country house and is a little bit like The Mummy. That's what people love about it. This episode is almost entirely separate to that.
Yeah, it could be anything. It could be from any Doctor Who, couldn't it, really?
Yeah, it's just generic nonsense, bless them.
And people on view screens and people waiting, standing by doors. It's all the same sort of shebang, isn't it, really?
And that paint job there, look at that. They just threw that at the wall, didn't they?
I'd like to go for a pink today.
Yeah, it's a shame. I remember not liking it at the time. I didn't like this story at all at the time when I was a teenager. There were no Daleks in it. That's why I didn't like.
Well, it's a hard pill to swallow when you've got so many absolutely jaw-droppingly brilliant sort of series 12 stories, as it were. This one's
and it's wobbling. It's wobbling. I love this. Relax.
And I love it there. She's so fab.
I mean, these two are selling it, basically. You've got the fantastic voice of Sutek and these two. The twin guardians of Horus, all bedecked in gold. Now, this puzzle, for goodness sake. Rubbish. This is a bit of script editing quick fix to get an episode, isn't it? The kids will love it.
The gaffer tape as well.
Yeah. Which indeed, yes. I'm sure I read this in a Doctor Who annual.
On the side of a matchbox.
At this point, I'd just like to say there are 6 minutes and 43 seconds left.
Yeah, talk about tying it all up together. I mean...
And they're taking it. Yes. Do you know the answer?
Can't even remember.
I love the way that Mummy moves in a kind of like... He's not even pointing to a particular one.
It's ridiculous, isn't it? And I like the way they've used the same mummy, just cover them in a bit of rubbish gold tape.
They've just nipped off and got changed between shots.
So these are the important mummies.
Where are the daddies? That's what I want to know. Oh, that was almost good.
Oh, look, you can see it glowing through his shirt now.
Yes.
And half of that. Whatever that hell that is.
It's the Eye of Horus.
Well, that's... Deactivate.
Now, he says servitors there. They say servicers and servitors, and we never knew what was right.
I mean, it is a rubbish fourth episode, isn't it? I mean, look at this. This is just... if I turned on the telly and saw this, I think it was the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen.
It's a dog!
And now it's an egg blowing up.
Oh, dear. Quick. He's free. Oh. But, of course, it takes a while to... I'm changing.
So crud.
Terrible.
Dear.
Now that wasn't bad. That effect, was it? That wasn't.
They could have lingered on that for a bit longer. I feel
it's a bit too horrible. I think.
I suppose so.
Lovely model effect coming up now. Here we go. Ba-bum,
See, great.
ba-bum,
that's
ba-bum,
stop motion, isn't it?
ba-bum.
Definitely.
No, I think they just pulled them out. I think they shot it at high speed and just pulled the shutters out.
Possibly.
Yeah, no, they wouldn't have bothered with stop motion. Too time consuming. Is this where he stands up and you see someone holding onto the seat, or have I missed that bit?
He's just always on the bog, isn't he? The whole story, he's trapped in the bog looking at a screen.
We're such children. Sutek on the Bog, episode 4.
I cannot leave yet. I'm not done. Fetch me a newspaper of Horus.
He does a fantastic job, though, doesn't he?
Oh, yeah.
Quick,
love
we're in
that.
we can
Love
still
that box. Love it.
It wobbled while they were in there. Okay, come on, now do a clever thing. Oh, I love this. I love that bit of control panel. I've got a tiny toy of that, all right. Oh, look, this is where we're going to see the hand, aren't we? Is it? Yes, I've got a tiny toy of that control panel that I bought for Ben, of course. which
Which
comes
is
with
now yours.
There's the hands
Oh,
there.
no,
Yes,
no,
come
dread-
on.
Dreadful.
And
dreadful.
a cushion as well, and a bit of gaffer tape.
Cheap.
What do you think
They
of
spent
Paddy
all the-
Russell? Like she worked on Quatermass and the Pit. What was she thinking? She was thinking this is 405 lines. No one will notice, and it wasn't.
Well, and you think nobody will ever watch it again, so who cares?
And unfortunately, here we are watching it for the 531st time, and being very churlish. Yeah. The inevitability of Doctor Who plots where someone has to flick a switch and blow something up. Yeah, I know Stephen Moffat's always railed against that. It's difficult to get around it, isn't it?
Tom's got a very flat Mozart-like haircut there.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, with a story like this, where it's sort of, all filler, not much killer in this fourth
Nice
part.
phrase.
All you can do is kind of end it quickly, put it out of its misery.
Unfortunately, it's going on and on. There are 2 minutes and 52 seconds left.
That's how I feel with this episode. I feel like we're stuck in the corridor of eternity. You're
So harsh.
doomed to repeat itself forevermore.
Yes.
The pattern behind the coffin looks a bit like something you'd see on the wall of an Indian restaurant.
Oh, it does, doesn't it? I've never
Yeah.
noticed that before. I'm feeling quite peckish all of a sudden.
Yeah.
No.
Just think he's still floating through the corridor of eternity right now.
Right now.
Right now.
Because I tell you what, it is eternal.
Well, if you're in the corridor of eternity, would you die from old age, or would your existence be eternal?
Please write into podcast@nicholasbriggs.com to let us know your thoughts on that subject.
I mean, if I was trapped in the corridor of eternity, I'd last a couple of days, and then presumably I'd die from starvation or dehydration. So, not that eternal, is it really?
Well, I don't know what the rules are.
What are the rules?
Nobody's told me.
How does this corridor of eternity work? Oh, no. Now you're going to find out.
CSO smoke. No,
Brilliant.
CSO fire and real smoke. The thermal balance would equalise. I love phrases like that. Couldn't make it up. Oh, he did.
Wait, he's...
Oh, you heard the old smoke machine going there. What? What? The Doctor started the Great Fire of
Bang.
London. Nice bit of model work there. Beautiful bit of model work.
Uh-oh.
Oh, dear. Could have.
I'm
There we go.
not going to lie. I'm quite surprised they survived that massive explosion.
Why did Tom kick his foot like that? I think Tom thought his foot was on fire there, didn't he? That was his little comment to the production team. That's such a simple model and it works beautifully, doesn't it?
Be gorgeous.
There we go.
Absolutely
the end
gorgeous.
of Pyramids of Mars. Or
Well, I have to
Sutex
say,
on the Bog, part 4.
Three corkers, and the fourth episode was truly dreadful.
It was, wasn't it? But I love it for the charm of the performances.
Well, quite. I mean, that's
Gabriel
Doctor Who,
Wolfe.
isn't it?
Gabriel Wolfe. Well done to Gabriel Wolfe. I can't watch this without thinking of Gabriel Wolfe in shorts when he came to do a Sutek one for Big Finish. It was the summer, but he said, "No, I always wear shorts."
I always dress for the occasion.
Sutek.
I like the fact that on BritBox, when the background on the browser is like a still from the production, that's a nice touch.
But quite often it's from the wrong episode. They've not really got it together, have they?
They've not got. I mean, they do need. They really need to sort out the episode selection aspect. That is vital because it's tedious. And they also need to get a better widespread apps going on.
The Android invasion's just starting.
Yeah,
That's
I had
enough
to
of that.
pull out quickly before that. That
Pull out,
happened.
man! Pull out! Abort! Abort!
Abort! Oh, you're then.
You can't say abort when you're yawning.
Abort!
Okay, listen, it's been a long old podcast.
Yeah, I thought
What do you want to
quite.
do next time? You got any ideas?
Well, next time, I mean, what we haven't done a watch and review for a long time. have we?
Exactly.
So maybe we should watch and review something.
Totally.
But what shall we watch and review is the question on my lips.
So why don't we take up the challenge? We both know the Seeds of Doom really well, Doctor Who, don't we?
Yeah, the
Why don't we-
Seeds of Dome.
Now, why don't we take up the challenge of watching, what is it called? The Man-Eater
The Man-Eater of Surrey Green.
The Avengers episode. It's from a particularly sci-fi series of the Avengers, actually. There are a lot of sci-fi ones there. So should we watch that for next week?
I think it'd be rude not to. Why
Steed
not,
and
eh?
Mrs. Peel in black and white dealing with a plant monster. What could be better?
What could be better? And I think this will be our first time doing the Avengers. So
Officially.
on the Benji and Nick show. So
Yeah, I mean, I have spoken about it in the What I'll Be Watching thing, but we've never actually...
of course, but we've never done a critique QUE on here, have we?
No, that's true. A QUE. All right, then. I just want to say, don't forget to send your emails to podcast@nicholasbriggs.com. And also, don't forget to go to the prisoner shop, the village shop. Was it?
Absolutely.
What was the address for that?
The village store.
The village store. I'll get it right. You can find it at www.theprisonershop.co.uk, and it's the village shop, and you use the code LOCHNESS10 when you get to the checkout. So why not do that? Go on. Why not?
Why not? Give it a go. Give it a go. Have a kick.
I've got my nose resting on the pop shield.
I haven't got a pop shield at the moment for some reason.
Have you got a different mic there?
I have, yes. I was using this microphone for something completely different, so I decided to keep it on here. So from me, it's goodbye.
And for me, it's goodbye. Pressing stop now. Ka-chung.